evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the world of V-Gaming Junkie News. The dross was drained into a husk by space jellyfish, so there's nothing but pure gaming-related meatiness here. It is all about the electronic good stuff as we dive deep in all that's new in the various interactive virtual worlds. And so it seems the Apple vs. Epic battle has inspired a new one, as Sony may very well face similar Monopoly-based allegations. It seems a group of gamers is requesting a class action lawsuit due to the industry giant refusing third-party download codes on their store. The allegation is that it's violating antitrust and unfair competition laws, and that Sony potentially makes as much as 75% extra on the digital front compared to physical games. Honestly though, it's times like this where I say just be a PC gamer unless there are exclusives you want that badly. I feel people who hype up the ultra resolutions and frame rates and whatnot sort of misrepresent the biggest advantage of PC gaming in my opinion. The real beauty, one that even weak computers that can barely play new games share, is that it's a completely open platform. Not only is the operating system open to buy and download games wherever you want, you can even crack open the hardware and replace components if you have the know-how. I'm just saying, right to repair isn't exactly a problem on the PC. And of course you can install Linux or something, so Windows isn't a requirement either. I'm just saying, I don't know how this lawsuit will turn out, I just want to throw it out there. Aside from exclusives, which is a very artificial reason, there's really no reason to have game consoles anymore since they're basically just closed-off PCs anyway. Well, maybe the Nintendo Switch, but not the PlayStation or Xbox. And so it seems the opinions of the people behind the Xbox of The Last of Us 2 were leaked, and spoilers, they were about as impressed as the rest of us. Granted, their problems with the game seem to be very counter to most people since they actually enjoyed the plot and dialogue for some reason. No, what they scorn is the gunplay, which admittedly I've heard isn't exactly a major improvement of the first one. I quote, "Naughty Dog still can't seem to make decent gun combat in any of their games, and this is no exception," unquote. Ultimately, they're not saying the game sucks or hardcore bashing on it or anything, it's really more of a meh, but it's still funny to see one of the Major 3's employees taking shots at another one's game. Get ready, because this next news story will be the story of the century. I promise you that nothing that's happened in your entire life will be as shocking a revelation as this. Are you ready? Sony, as it turns out, does not like crossplay. I know, huge shocker considering they flat out blocked crossplay for games like Rocket League and Minecraft, and Nintendo and Microsoft even threw shade on them for it. Apparently Epic documents came out because of the court case that Sony was complaining about potential loss in revenue and they potentially wanted compensation if they agreed to it. No lie, they actually talked about wanting compensation if someone spent virtual currency in the game on another platform but played it mostly on PlayStation. You know, Sony, you should probably try to avoid doing things like this in the future, along with censoring your games and a host of other things. Stunts like that really hurt your PR, and you can't put a price on that. And speaking of Apple vs. Epic, Apple is apparently playing the role of moral Puritan to try to make Epic look bad. They actually tried to use itch.io's more raunchy content to argue against Epic. Basically, Epic announced that it would offer itch.io as an app on the Epic stores to take that against Apple, basically saying we're willing to put competitors on our platform. Apple, however, tried to turn that against Epic by claiming there were games on itch.io that were, quote, so offensive that we cannot speak about them here, unquote. What is this, 1992 and Nintendo arguing against the Supreme Court? Just arguing before a court about how the video games is just so raunchy and bad, you gotta think about the kids, Jimmy. In another news story all about Epic vs. Apple, man, these documents sure are revealing a lot. It seems Epic tried to convince Microsoft to forego the usual Xbox Live requirements for free-to-play games. According to the email, Epic was attempting to get Microsoft to make Fortnite's multiplayer available sans any subscription services, apparently as part of their feud against Apple. Epic even seemed to promise it would have benefits for Microsoft's Xbox and Windows. Kinda strange that Epic would make such a move to assist their case, I guess to argue that consoles and PC provide a better value than the mobile platforms or something of that nature. One thing's for sure, this court case sure is producing a lot of interesting things and has been dominating this news video so far. The next news story is amazingly not about the Epic vs. Apple case. Rather, it's a Take That against Take-Two, because it seems the developer reverse-engineered Grand Theft Auto in Take-Two once it Q-snapped. Specifically, Grand Theft Auto 3 and San Andreas were essentially reverse-engineered with a code released online. Naturally, Take-Two wasn't having any of that, arguing a DMCA violation. Theo, one of the developers, argued that it's only very similar, not exactly identical. Essentially, they made a very impressive imitation of it, which Capcom had to find out imitations aren't necessarily a violation. It seemed to work because so far it seems the imitation source code is here to stay on GitHub. This next news story is also about Epic vs. Apple, but don't worry, it's actually a lot more lighthearted. Basically, the only relevance it has to that is that it was brought to light due to them turning over documents. Many potential skins were revealed for Fortnite, but of course, being the self-proclaimed Metroid junkie, my eye like Game Informer's Lyanna Rupert turned to Samus Aran. Now, this doesn't mean for sure that Samus Aran is going to be on Fortnite. Knowing Nintendo would probably never happen outside of maybe being an exclusive to the Switch version, if that's even possible. Still, it's pretty sweet that at least someone on the team is a fan of Metroid, and if it actually did happen, at the very least it might provide some much-needed exposure to the Metroid franchise. Even if you absolutely hate Fortnite, Lord knows that Metroid is a series that could use a lot more love than it has. It's not exactly known as being a high seller, sadly, and a couple of recent games only seem to serve as a repellent. Hopefully Prime 4 can help turn things around. Samus Returns was excellent, and I have a review of Samus Returns if you want to hear all about that. Shameless plugging aside, I'm not sure Samus Aran will actually get on Fortnite, but it's still interesting to talk about. And speaking of Nintendo, it seems they're taking it upon themselves to try to help people learn how to make games with a game-making tool. This toolkit is reportedly being called Game Builder Garage, and the no joining it seems to utilize actually kind of makes me think of the logic editor in Doom 2016 Snap Map. Then again, many editors including Blender also have node editing, so perhaps it's not so unique to that. Other things I can see comparisons to are GarageBand for iOS as well as Nintendo's own WarioWare Do-It-Yourself. If this inspires young gamers to want to make their own games, I can only see it as a good thing. Hopefully we get more creative game makers to come from this, especially since the AAA game industry has been stale and rotting for a while now with some obvious exceptions. Here's hoping the next generation of game makers can be creative about something that isn't just trying to find ways to rip you off. If you've got a Game Boy, Game Boy Color, or Game Boy Advance, it's your time to shine. Better grab some fresh AA's because apparently there's a new game being released on the original Game Boy. You heard that right, game developer 7FH is releasing a game called Genesis for Nintendo's OG handheld. Now if you just use a Super Game Boy with it, you'll have a Genesis on the Super Nintendo. Bad jokes aside, it's a top-down scrolling shooter, which is a genre I'm actually pretty into. At least there's certainly one or two that I really enjoy. I'm certainly interested in trying it, although maybe not on actual hardware. Finally, have you ever wanted to go through a photorealistic Grand Theft Auto City? Well, there's no shortage of mods for various games, including the GTA games with photorealism in mind. Intel seems to be going for a different approach with that. Using a technique oh so creatively called enhancing photorealism enhancement, it seems they're able to take Grand Theft Auto V, feed a lot of data collected from German street photos, and render it back out as something that looks quite remarkable. Between the blurring, color tint, and overall quality, it really does look like someone's just video recording themselves driving along the road. It really is quite amazing what AI is proving capable of when it comes to reconstructing and enhancing images. While I seriously doubt that game streaming will ever truly be viable, this seems like it's streaming an aspect of a game's visuals which seems to be working out really well. I can hardly wait to see what the future will hold for virtual graphics. And as always from the page of Games Radar, it's time for the latest batch of release dates fresh from the oven. The 18th sees Leisure Suit Larry, Wet Dreams Dry Twice for PS4, X1, and Switch. No, you heard right, this of all games is apparently getting a re-release, and I applaud them for their bravery. The 19th sees Days Gone, an Elite Dangerous Odyssey expansion for PC in addition to Never Yield for PC and Switch. The 21st starts with Backworlds for Switch as well as Grand Casino Tycoon for PC and Just Die Already for the old band of four. Lacuna, Mayhem and Single Valley, and of Bird and Cage for PC as well as Puzzle Bobble VR Vacation Odyssey for Oculus Rift round out the 20th. The 21st has Knockout City for the old band of four, Miitopia for Switch, and Rust for PS4 and X1. The 25th starts out with an airport for Aliens currently run by dogs for PC and Series X, as well as Biomutant for PC, PS4, and X1. Following up that is King of Seas for the old band of four, as well as Maneater and Very Very Valet for Switch. The 27th just has Oddworld Collection for Switch. The 28th begins with 7 Years From Now for PC and Switch, Roots of Pacha for just PC, and Song of Horror Complete Edition for PS4 and X1. Rounding off the 28th, Wonder Boy, Asha and Monster World for PS4 and Switch, as well as World's End Club for just Switch. This week's epic freebie until next Thursday is The Lion Song, an adventure game that seems to focus on Austrian artists and has a very sepia style to it. I can't speak of the next week's one after that because it appears to be a mystery release that Epic doesn't want to reveal quite yet, so keep your eyes peeled on that one. Who knows, it might just be something big. And as always, that rounds out this news week. I hope you enjoyed and were well enough informed. As always, I Let's Play every single day, 10 a.m. and 2 p.m, live stream Mondays and Fridays unless otherwise specified at 4:30 p.m, and these news programs are every other Sunday at 6 p.m. due to game review alteration. That's Eastern Standard Time, but you can always subscribe and kill-star that bell icon if you don't want to worry about keeping track of time zones. A like is always appreciated for the algorithms, but I just hope you genuinely liked it, and that is it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. Spread this video around like Ellis Skiros Broodlings, and I'll see you next time. Make sure to go out there and capitalize on life. Peace out, have a good one, and I'll see you next week with a game review.